It's on. It's on. Okay. I need to have something to prove to me it's on. Hello, everybody. Are we on there? Welcome, everyone. Okay. Mesonge, welcome. Odia Mary, or Mary Odia. Nikki, Rogokome, Paul Oriade, Mel Cyril. Welcome, welcome everybody. Nice to have all of you back. Please go share the message with your friends and go invite all the people you care about, tag them and let them know that another day is here. Another day is here, and we welcome all of you back. Rene, welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We continue the series, Knowing and Understanding God Through Love. So the whole idea is that the whole essence of our Christian faith is to know God, to understand Him, and to love Him. To love Him. So through loving Him and by loving people, we love God. And that way we get to know God. Love helps us to come to the knowledge of God. Love helps us to get to understand God. And the Bible tells us that if anybody is going to be proud of anything, you should be proud of the knowledge of God, the fact that you know God and you understand God. So that is the greatest height of knowledge and of revelation that we could all have. We should be proud that we know God and we understand Him. No, nothing better than that. And that should be the dream of every one of us. And that's why I'm going for as long as possible teaching on this topic of knowing and understanding God through love. Knowing and understanding God through love. But the topic of today is irrational love leads to hatred. Irrational love leads to hatred. Yesterday I mentioned an example of irrational love. Irrational love, one of the examples of irrational love is the story we saw in 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel 13, 2 and 15. You can read the whole chapter. The whole chapter of 2 Samuel 13 is talking about an irrational love. This is a perfect example of the topic of today. When Amnon is one of the grandsons of David, and the son of Absalom, the one that betrayed the father, and he fell in love with his stepsister, and the stepsister was Tamar. Now, they have the same father, but different mothers. So, actually, were they grandchildren? I think they were children, no? I think they were children of, were they children of David or grandchildren? I think they were probably children, right? They were children, yeah, they were children of David. They were actually children of David, not grandchildren, children. So Amnon was the step brother to Tamar. And they were in love he was so much in love with her because she was attractive. But the fact that you are in love with somebody is not, you cannot just be in love with anybody. And like now, I'm married. The fact that I'm in love with anybody, I can have feeling for another person, but that doesn't make it legitimate. So this was an irrational love because it was illegitimate. But in his own case, it was so irrational that Amnon got sick. He couldn't even get out of bed without thinking about this girl. And not just thinking about her, he was so much in love with her, he couldn't even get out of bed. He couldn't go to work, he couldn't do anything, he couldn't function. He did everything to make his parents allow him to marry the sister. Of course, the parents would not agree to that. David refused that, and all the relatives and family disagreed with his decision to want to marry the sister. So what did he do? He went and consulted with friends. And friends want their friends to feel better. Friends are cheerleaders. and friends are, friends are for comfort. Friends are cheerleaders, and one of the reasons why you want friends is because you want comfort. So they advise him on what to do. And what they advise him to do is that he should lay down in bed and pretend to be sick, and then ask his sister Tamar to be the one to come and look after him. And this lady was thinking, oh, if my brother is sick and he says I should come and look after him, definitely I will do that, because my brother is sick. I will do what I need to do to get him to be well. But you know what? While she was sick, she was looking after him. He was overcome by his emotions, and he raped her. But he was so much in love with her that he slept with her. But now, what irrational love does is what happened as a result. So what happened as a result? After he raped her, he wanted her so bad that after he got her, he started having the opposite feelings, opposite emotions. So what was the big uncontrollable love before became big uncontrollable hate. He started hating her so bad, hated her so bad that he actually sent her away from the house, disgraced her, humiliated her, and hated her with more passion, with a greater passion than the passion he had, that he was, the passion of love that he had for her before. So let's read the story here. 2 Samuel 13:2 says, Amnon was so distressed over his sister Tamar that he became sick, for she was a virgin, and it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her. Then Amnon hated her. Oh, so after everything, after, the story that I've told you, right? After he had been with her and everything, so let's see the result. Then he hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, arise, be gone. So he chased her. That's the height of humility for a lady. I mean, you disvirgined her, you took away her honor, then you disgraced her. You disgraced her twice. That's what the lady said at the end of the day, that what you have done to me now is actually worse than the rape itself, because you have now disparaded me or disgraced me publicly. And that led to a whole lot of other problems among the families, among the brethren. What the whole idea of the lesson I'm trying to teach today is the fact that, you remember, this whole thing is about knowing and understanding God through love. So how does this have relation? What is this teaching us about love? The lesson about love, through love, we get to know God, right? So what is it teaching us about love today? What is teaching us about love is that irrational love, any love that doesn't have meaning, any love that is irrational, will lead to hatred. Now, that was the extreme case of irrational love that I just gave to you, right? The example of, somebody, getting sick and raping another person, that is totally extreme, right? But let's talk about other irrational love that happens. Okay. A lady comes to the mother and says, I'm in love with my classmate. And the mother and the parents definitely will say, oh, you are just 17 years old, or you just finished high school. And how can you be in love with your classmate when he is also 17 like you, or he's just 18? And how will you sustain each other? How will he sustain you? Oh, mommy, I'm in love. We've all heard such stories of young men, young kids coming back home to say they are in love and they want to marry. But what they don't think about is that they are not thinking about the fact that the so-called boyfriend or husband doesn't have any means of sustenance. So he is not working, he cannot sustain her, number one. Some of them, these people who come with irrational love, some of them are just finishing high school, some of them have not finished college, Some of them have not even gotten admission to university. These things are irrational. So what I'm saying is that irrational love, most likely, almost 100% will end up with in hatred. Almost, okay, you think about it. Maybe some of you who are watching me right now, you had once been in love too. Have you once been in love? Has all those love been rational? Maybe for you, maybe you are lucky, but for some of us who are teenagers, were you a teenager before? If you have ever been a teenager and you were unbeliever in the world, you probably had an idea of boyfriend and girlfriend. Do you know that most of the boyfriend experiences always ended up in hatred? And that especially after a hot passion and hot declaration of love. Like, for example, I remember that there was a girl that I was dating when I was in Nigeria. I was 17, maybe 16. And I was dating this girl. I was an unbeliever, definitely. I really liked her so bad that, so I cooked up then I dated her from 16 to when I was 19. And then at 19, just before I got saved, I knew that I was going to travel overseas. I just knew that inside me somehow that I'm going to travel overseas. So I'm older than her by 2 years, I guess. So I was 19 and she was 17. So we thought we loved each other. We thought we loved each other so bad that we knew that the parents, I said, okay, before I leave the country, let's marry. So that when I leave the country, and I marry you, then I will come back and we will still be together forever. So she was 17. So the parents would not allow us to marry. So what we did was we were going to get her pregnant. And once she's pregnant, then they will not be able to, stop us. And I was going to travel abroad. Then they would discover that she's pregnant. Thank God I got saved since about a few months later. But the idea is, a few years down the line, I discovered that she was actually pregnant. Later on, after I left, 1 year after I left the country, she was pregnant for another guy. She carried out a plan, not with me, but with another guy. And right now, you know what she's doing? She's selling right there in the street of Lagos. You know some of those people you see in the street in Lagos, right in the middle of the street, who's selling food and selling all those things? That's what she's doing right now. But I was thinking, later on after I got saved and God saved me from that plan, I was thinking, my God, what a foolishness. What a foolishness could that have been? I would have just ruined my life. What a foolishness. You see, irrational plan, irrational love. That was an irrational love. And a lot of people are engaged. I can remember, not just that girl. Before that girl, I had some other girls that I was in love with. Then we fought. Everything ended up in hatred. Why? Because irrational love. There was one of the girls that I was so in love. Then I discovered that she was also dating my boyfriend, my friend. Oh, wow. So that leads to anger, hatred. So irrational love. What I'm trying to say is that you've got to make your love rational. If you are just finishing high school and you say you are in love, forget about it. That's not rational. Why is not rational? Because you don't have anything to sustain each other. It's irrational. It's just like my children. We were having youth HMT. By the way, we are planning to also have youth HMT this year. If some of you are if you are interested, I think, what's her name again? Is it Idore or what's the name? Is it Idore, right? Idore wants to be the one to coordinate that. So if you want to send your children for youth HMT this year, get in touch with, I think it's Idore Shaus, right? Well, I think that's her name. Idore Shaus, and get in touch with her and let her coordinate this for you. And, if we have enough. Anyway, we're having this HMT, and my children were there for HMT to share some of their experience with growing up in Adelaja family. Then some of the parents who were there asked my children and said, Perez, you are now 17. He was 17 that time. And Zoe, you are 15. Pearl, you are 13. Do you have issues with boyfriend, love, dating? And how do you deal with it? Then Perez and the girls answered and said, we have been taught and we know that trying to have boyfriend and girlfriend and date right now doesn't make any sense. Even Perez will still tell you the same thing now, he's 20, that it doesn't make any sense because it's not going to end well. Because how can I be dating now when I know that I've not finished my college? How can I be dating now? I don't know who I'm going to become, when and how. I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I don't have anything to sustain. So it doesn't make any sense to date now when there's no perspective for it. It's not rational. So we have told them, because they came to us, our children came to us asking these kind of questions, like, dating and, okay, just ask them how rational it is for you to date. Can you look at me? I'm your dad, right? Look at the house where we live in, okay? Look at the people who are helping us. Look at the cars. Do you have all that to sustain a wife? Ooh, no. Okay. So what should you focus on now? Education. Yes. Then go get a job. Yes. Everything has to be rational. But from where I come from, in Nigeria, in Africa, I remember my relatives in Nigeria were having 5 children, 6 children, 7 children. And I'm asking them, you people are not even educated. You don't even have a job. You don't even have a job. And you are having 5, 6, 7 children. That is irrational. And you're saying you are married, is marriage or is love? That is irrational. Irrational love leads to hatred. Have you ever heard of your children, or maybe you too have ever had a thought that, have you ever spoken to your parents that, why did you even bring me to this world? I've asked that question many times, especially when I was young. I queried my parents, I blamed them, I hated them, I cursed them. I cursed my parents. Why should you bring me to this world without a plan, without provisions, why? That is an irrational love. Irrational love will lead to hatred. Why was I hating them? Because they didn't think, they didn't make plans. So what is irrational? Irrational is something that you couldn't argue out logically. You couldn't make a sense of it. Why is it that you're going to be having 5 children? What is the argument? How will you take care of the 5 children? There are many other irrational aspects of love in Nigeria, in Africa, where I come from. For example, in Nigeria, people will tell you, if you marry, that you must make sure you get pregnant. You get your wife pregnant the very first year of marriage. In fact, not just the first year, you must have your child within a year of marriage. You must give birth to a child in the year. That means you have to be pregnant within 3 months of your marriage. And if you are not pregnant within 3 months of your marriage, they begin to cause trouble for you, as if you are the one, you are having a problem, and all kind of talks begin to go around, which is irrational. For you to be pregnant within the first year of your marriage is irrational. It will lead to some hatred, either between husband and wife or between children and parents. It is irrational. Every irrational love will lead to hatred. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that it is an irrational expression of love to try to be pregnant in the first 2 years of marriage, unless you marry too late and you're already over, you're already too old and you want to quickly have a child, maybe. But I don't believe that anybody who gets married should get a baby in the first year, in the second year, even the third year, maybe third year, but not earlier than 3 years in marriage. If otherwise, all other things is not logical, it's not rational. And those things that are not rational, when the children will come, or when the child comes, and when the pressure and the pressure of the child that you didn't prepare for is going to bring about hatred in your relationship or with your children. So any irrational life, there are different kind of irrational love, will always lead to hatred. Just like people say they are gay and they want to marry. Yeah, there are some people now, there are some countries now that are giving license to gay people to marry. But you know what happened? Because that marriage is irrational, they end up hating each other. They don't just divorce, but they hate each other. In fact, there are cases in America now where gay couples have killed each other. Why? Because it's an irrational love. Any love that is irrational, abnormal, is going to end up in hatred. Irrational love leads to hatred. Irrational love leads to hatred. So that was an example that I showed you of Amnon and Tamar. But there are other examples like that. Okay, let's go back again to our thesis, our quotation that we normally use. All problems in the world is a love problem. Either loving yourself too much, or not loving others as yourself, or loving others too much. All problems in the world is a love problem. A misdirected love is loving the wrong things, self and other things, instead of loving God as yourself. I would like us to look at a video here that shows to us that all problems that people have among themselves, all human problems, is connected to love. It is either we are loving ourselves too much, or we don't love others as ourselves, or we love other people too much. When we love other people too much too, it leads to hatred. All irrational love leads to hatred. Let's have a look at this particular video.
You're homeless here in Traverse City. Tell me about it.
What do you want to know?
Well, where are you sleeping at?
Wherever I can.
So what's a day like? What's a night like?
The day is pretty good because we go out and see my friends, go out and have meals, but the night gets pretty cold because it's still early yet.
How'd you end up on the streets?
I lost my son when he was 5.5, and I just lost everything. It's all right. I don't ask my family for nothing.
How long have you been sleeping outside?
What year is it? 2017? About 10 years now.
Oh my gosh, it's too long. That's way too long.
I've had jobs. I work and I do everything I can, but can never get a place around here. I travel down south in the wintertime because it's too cold here.
If you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
I only need one. I want my son back. That's it. I don't like talking about my son. Sorry.
Well, thank you very much for talking.
Thank you.
Okay, you see what happened here? Let's hear that story again. This man is a homeless man. This man is a homeless man. He lost everything, divorced his wife, and ended up in the street. Huh? Yeah, and you know the reason why? Because he lost his son. His son died. Are we okay with touching this one? Okay with that? So, because of the death of the son, things went so bad for him. He divorced the wife. He started drinking, I guess. Lost everything. And ended up on the street. Because he lost the son. And now they are telling him, if you have 3 wishes, what would those wishes be? He said, no, he just needs 1 wish. 1 wish. And what is that wish? He said, for his son to get back. So who will tell me what is the problem here? Of course, let's go back to that, our note. When you love something too much, that note, we need to write that. Too much love is missing in the note. When you love, all problems in the world is a love problem, you say. In this case, it's not that he's not loving somebody enough, or his son enough, his family enough, but he was loving his son too much. And when you love somebody too much, you idolize them. So what happened in this particular case is a problem of love. He has idolized. And whenever you idolize somebody, when you love somebody too much, it becomes irrational love. So who killed that son? Therefore, who killed that son? His dad. He killed his son. And he doesn't even know that he's the one to blame for it. He killed that son through his irrational love. When we love something too much, we idolize it. Irrational love will lead to hatred. And if that hatred will lead to conflict. And if that is not stopping you, it's going to lead to death. But when it's a small boy, when it's a small child like that, you kill that child with your irrational love. Sickness in the family, tragedies in the homes, in relationships, death, conflicts, is all as a result of irrational love to somebody or to something. Some people love to get this car. Oh, I need this car so much, this car so much. Then you got it, you use it for 1 year and you hate it. You want to sell it. You want to get rid of it. Some people need a dress. They want a particular dress. Oh, I must go to that party. I must go. They got it, then they don't like it. Irrational love will lead to hatred. So all problems in this world is a love problem. Either loving yourself too much, or not loving others as yourself, or loving others too much. A misdirected love is loving the wrong things, self and other things, instead of loving God as yourself. Matthew 10:34, this is what Jesus came to prevent, you see. Because the only one we are supposed to love like that is God. We are supposed to love God with all our hearts, with all our soul, with all our strength. Only God we are supposed to love like that, like idolize and worship. So Matthew 10:34-39 says, do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. What does a sword do? A sword brings division between you and whatever you are attached to. A sword makes you it brings separation. And that separation is for your good. That separation is to detach you with something that you are idolizing, so that you will be attached to God who created that thing that you are idolizing. So that's why God brought sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against the mother, and a daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and a man's enemy will be those of his own household. Why those of his own household? Because it is the people of our household that we have the possibility of loving and being attached to irrationally. So those are the people that God will use the sword for most often. But that is a good thing, because when God brings the division through the sword, then he attaches you to God, then the other person gets attached to God, then you all come under the cover. You all come under the covering of God. But you must be independent of each other. Would any one of you would like to talk about the way we live in our family here? I and Pastor Bosa is an example of this. And not just me and Pastor Bosa, and the children even. Everybody is independent from each other. Even though we love each other, we are one family, we respect each other, we honor each other. But Pastor Bosa is not living off of me. She's not idolizing me, talking about me every time, thinking about me 24 hours. She's thinking about God 24 hours. I'm not thinking about Pastor Bosa 24 hours. I'm busy doing God's work 24 hours. But our children are not just looking up to us as if we are God. They know that we are not. And they know we can die at any time. We have taught them to release us and assume in their mind that we are dead, that we can be dead tomorrow. That's how we've trained our children. So, because if we don't do that ourselves, then God has to use the sword. The sword has to come to break the attachment. And when that happens, when God comes with the sword, then it could result in conflict among each other. And when that happens, then you will begin to think that it's Satan, but it's actually God's blessing. So conflict in that case is a blessing. Or one of the children will be sick. Or one of the people you are idolizing will be sick. If it's your husband, it will be sick. If it's your wife, she will be sick. And when she will not be able to get healing, or he will not be able to get deliverance. And you'll be wondering why. Because you are the one sucking life out of him. You are depending on him, making him the source of your energy, the source of your joy. And the source of our joy is supposed to be just God. The source of our energy is supposed to be God. The source of our happiness is supposed to be God alone. So, but when you are idolizing somebody, when you are loving somebody too much, that way he is the source of your joy. So when you see them, you are happy. You are the one. They are the ones you are thinking about. That way you are sucking life out of them. But since they don't have eternal life, only God has eternal life. Only God has infinite life. They will begin to feel it because you are taking life from them, and life that you have taken from them will lead to them being sick. You are removing, when you have elevated them over above God, they are not protected. They could get accident, they could get into sickness, because you have anything you have lifted over and above God, anything you love the most in your life, you have lifted them over God. Then they are not protected. Then any calamities will begin to happen to them. And those calamities and sicknesses and things like that, they are a deterrent for you. They are supposed to act as a deterrent to help you get the message, and put the gap and detach yourself from them and attach yourself to God, and then come back together again now, after you are attached to God. So he who loves Father, you see, it's all about love. Anything you love more than God, you see, he who loves Father or Mother more than me, it's all about loving. That is idle. That is irrational. That becomes an irrational love. Because rational love is that you will love God more than anybody else. But when you begin to love somebody else, whether it's your father or mother or husband or children, more than God, then expect the sword. Because that sword is going to come. Because either the sword is going to come so that you don't kill them, so that you don't kill the object of your love. The sword is going to come to try to detach you before you suck the life out of the people, before you expose them to too much danger. So that sword is an act of love, therefore, to detach you and then put you under God's protection and get you attached to the source of life that you cannot suck dry. So, and he who loves son or daughter more than me, you say, it's all about loving anything more than him. It's not permitted. It's irrational. Anything you are so infatuated with, you are so much in love with, too much, more than God himself, who gave you that son or daughter or father or husband or wife, anything you love more than me, it's all about more than me. It's about loving something more than God. If you love anything more than God, that disqualifies you. That means that thing is your God. Anything you love most is your God. And that is whatsoever you have elevated over and above God in your life. And you are exposing that thing to attacks. And you are removing them from under God's protection. Because you have put them over and above God. So anybody who loves anything more than me is not worthy of me. So that's what we call irrational love. And that irrational love will lead to hatred and death eventually. It leads to different things. It leads to losses, it leads to hatred, it leads to death, it leads to tragedy, it leads to calamities, it leads to sickness. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. Why take his cross? If you don't take your cross and follow after him, it means you are living for yourself still. It means you love yourself. So in one case, in one instance, you love something else more than God. But in the other instance, you love yourself more than God. That's why you cannot deny yourself. Because to take up your cross and follow God means to deny yourself. To deny yourself means you are not living for yourself. You are not the center of your life anymore. He must become the center of your life. That's what it means to live, to take your cross and follow him. That means that he must be the focus of your life. You must be living to please him. You must be living to glorify him. You must be living to bring his will to pass. Your whole essence and ideology of life must be starting from him. He must be the initiator of your life. So he's the one who is pulling the shots. You are not the one deciding on your life, what you want, what must happen, and then you are just asking him to bless you on your plans. It must be the opposite. You must find out his plans. You must find out about his purposes. And then you walk on earth, you trying to bring to pass the plans and the agenda that he has set for you. So it's all about, that's what it means by, carrying your cross to follow him. That to carrying the cross, his burden. What's his cross? What's his burden? The calling that he has for you. The purpose that he has for you. The agenda that he has for your life. The agenda that he has for your life. The purpose, speech down here. The purpose that he has for you. That is what is called the cross. Where you must live focusing on that. That must be, it means that it is the priority of your life. It is what the agenda of your life. It is what you are living for. Purpose that God has intended for you. Plans that God had intended for you even before you were born. The will of God that is in the heart of God that he has, he had planned that you will bring to pass. That is what it goes by, what is meant by take your cross. So it means that the reason why you are doing everything is not to make a living. The reason why you are doing everything, therefore, is not just to sustain your family. The reason why you go to work, go to job, or go to do anything will be only one reason. What will be the reason why you go to work? The reason why you go to work, therefore, will be because you know the plan that God wants you to bring, God wants to do through you. You have discovered it, and you are going to work to bring it to pass. That's the purpose of work. The reason why you are making money is not just to pay for your rent. If you are doing that, then you have not taken your cross. When you have taken your cross, you know that you are doing what you need to do because of that cross, that burden, that particular agenda that God has given you. So now, a lot of you will have crisis concerning this thing I'm saying. You will say, but then how do we sustain our needs? How do we pay our bills? Well, the way to pay your bills is to, that's why I wrote all those. That's why I'm writing all these books. Stop working for Uncle Sam and all those things. Because it's to plan your life in such a way that even though you still have to temporarily work, but the rest, maybe you are giving 40% or 60% of your life to your work while you need to make your daily living and make your, make a living. But the rest of the 60% will be dedicated to actually activating and actualizing your heavenly vision. That is taking your cross. So that means you don't stop working immediately if you don't have an alternative means of sustenance, but you are working just maybe 40% of your time to sustain yourself, then the rest of the 60% you are working for your vision. Or the other way around. Maybe you are working 60% and then 40% of your life, of your daily life, you are actually dedicating it to bringing his vision to pass. So one way or the other, you've got to organize yourself in such a way, or you are working to be able to get the means to now use that means or resources to now use it and channel it into bringing to pass the purpose and agenda that God has given to you. It must, you must be aware that your whole life and everything you are doing, that the same thing with how you spend your money and your resources, that your money and every other thing and your resources, energy, is just about maybe 40% that is going to just take care of your need and your need of your family, but the rest of the 60% is actually being used to bring the kingdom of God upon the earth and sustain it. Or maybe 60% for your needs and all that, but then 40% to then you using to bring the kingdom of God. Maybe it's not going to work out like that immediately, but it must be the goal or the target that you are having before you. That is when you have your life in order. That is when you have a rational lifestyle. That is how you live. And then how do you get there? Because right now, the way most of you are living is that you are living from pocket to mouth. You are living from mouth to pocket, or whatever they say. Is it mouth to pocket or pocket? Hand to pocket, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. You are living right now from hand to mouth. If that's the way you are living right now, that's why I'm writing all the books. That's why you have all these books, that I've written. They will help you to make the switch. You must get to a place whereby you know that at least 60 to 80% of your day is spent to do what you are sent here to do. That is when you are happy. That is when you are fulfilled. That is when your life is meaningful. So that's what God is talking here when he said, take up your cross and follow me. And if you don't do like that, if you don't live that lifestyle of living for your cross, taking up your cross, then you are not worthy of me. He who finds his life, because you are living for your life, then you have found your life. You will lose it. And he who loses his life, who is ready to give up on his life and live for the kingdom agenda, the kingdom priorities, he will find it. He will find that life. Because you have put it under the submission of the Lordship of God. So, soul ties also lead to eventual hatred. Any irrational love, any love that is irrational will turn to hate. Let's have another look at another video that will help us to get this topic as well. Okay, here we go.
I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship with my 15-year-old son.
Cannot let him see me have this phone or taken out of my hand and throw it across the room.
We're scared to death of him. We don't know what Rivers is capable of.
It's almost as if he wants to use the most hurtful words that he can.
If I cry, he'll say, shut up, you.
Yes, but I stop crying all the time.
He'll say, leave me alone, you slut, you dumb blonde. Quit bothering me, you bitch. I get called a bitch 1,000,000 times a day. Go kill yourself. Go sit in the middle of the road and let a car run you over.
My son called me a
You know, never had any social life, did you?
I went up to him and I said, what did you say? He said, I called you.
You think I like men? I can knock your teeth in your mouth. Don't you ever call me a
Dude.
And he went, I'd love to see you try.
He has slammed the door in my face and caused me to have a bloody eye, and his reasoning was, you shouldn't have your face at the door.
He's pushed me onto the hood of the car. He's pushed me through his closet doors. I fell down and he was pointing at me. He said, don't with me. I know how to fight. He's 6'2", he's 15, he's physically bigger than me. I completely lost control of my son.
Now, Angie and Hunter have stopped forcing Rivers to go to school. They just gave up. They're just waiting, I guess, for the courts.
Okay. Now, this kind of thing happens. Can you believe it? Parents are losing their children. And children are becoming unruly. What happens? What leads to children behaving like that? Why would children behave like that? Well, let me tell you why. Whenever parents idolize their children or irrationally love them or try to give them everything they need, everything they want, when you over pamper your child with love, that's what you get. You spoil that child. Now, it doesn't always happen immediately when they are young like this. It could be later in life. But whenever you give to a child everything, whenever you over pamper, or when you send them, they become spoiled brats. You know, and another reason for this, it might not be that they have spoiled him by giving him everything he needed. It might be that even before he was born, that mother had loved that son too much when he was still not even conceived. She was dreaming of him, making him the purpose of his life, the meaning of their lives. Oh, that we are going to have a child, it's going to be a boy. They might not be Christians. So God is out of the equation. So instead of God, that baby, their family that they are having, or that child that they're going to have, become the centrality of their lives. And when that happens, the sword comes coming down. And now, that is the sword working. You know, the division. What they loved so much, now they are getting to a place that they are hating it so much. And even that son is hating them so much. Now, let me tell you something. Irrational love leads to hate. But that hatred, right now, this hatred that we are seeing, is actually a saving cycle. It's a saving, what do you call it? Saving, like what do you throw to the people who are drawn in the river? Saving ring, right? Saving cycle. Anyway, that's a safety line. That is a saving line right there. It's a saving,
Life belt.
Oh, the cycle. Yeah, it's a life belt. It's a saving cycle that God is throwing at them, because what is happening is through that hatred, those two, that mother and that father, they are not going to idolize him again. I bet you. They will, in fact, I'm sure by now they are preferring that they will die. So what is happening in that process is, okay, when you, okay, I think Galia, can you come, Galia? Okay. Let me just tell you how that happens, because you might not know how that happens, right? Okay, let's say this, you are the child that, you might need to come closer. This is the child that I am the father and I love this child so well. And you are the mother. Yeah. And this is the mother. So I, your father and mother, will love this child so much. Even before she was born, we have dreamed that we are going to have a family and we are going to have a child and all that. So we begin to love her, love him. Maybe we are not even spoiling him. But he's the center of our life. And like in this case, he's the only child. And very often, a lonely child becomes the center of the parent's life, becomes the idol of the parent's life. So we are loving her so much. I'm throwing all my love on her. She is, the mother is doing the same. You know what that is doing to him? That is sucking out life from him, from that child. Sucking out life. How? Why should they be sucking out life? Okay, let's say, when she is the center of our lives, that means that child is I am getting the meaning of my life from her. I am getting the meaning of my life from her. I'm drawing the meaning of my life, the raison for my life from her. She is doing the same thing. That's one. It means that she is the reason for my joy. So I am deriving and drawing, pulling joy. She is the source. I am deriving my source of joy from her. And those things are leaving her. Life is leaving her. Joy is leaving her. And all the things I'm drawing, whatever she represents for me, I'm drawing from her. So she is feeling it. That child, that son that is violent, she is feeling it, that she doesn't understand it. The child doesn't understand what's going on. But she's feeling that I'm uncomfortable with being at home. I'm dying. He cannot explain it. So he's just being violent. He's just expressing that frustration anyhow. Just because the life is going out of him. He's being suffocated out of life. So he just wants to get out of it. Hey, live. It's because the life is living. the parents are killing the child. Now, let's say the child is an adult like this, and she's been, okay, let's say it's not a child. Let's say it's husband and wife. Can you step aside? Let's say it's husband and wife. I love you so much like that, and you are the source of my life, the energy, I draw everything from you. You also, because you are now a Christian, you have to, we have to have good family, I have to be a good husband, praise God. So you cannot get angry at me, because you are trying not to get angry at me. Because you are a good Christian, you want to be a good wife. So you don't know what is happening. So you want to control yourself. So even though I'm getting life out of you, but you are not getting violent like a kid. It is a child, a son that is going violent, because that's the only way you could express it. But you are praying, you are trying to control yourself. That way you're developing sickness. Because you are not, by that radicality of the child, when the child is fighting, he's saving himself. Yes. He's saving himself. So that love that is making me to drive life from her is stopping, because she's making me angry. The child is making me angry. So I cannot take the love again. I cannot take the life again from her. I cannot, because I don't, she's making me not to like her. That's what that child is doing. So it's a way to survive. So by being violent, calling them names, she's stopping them from deriving life from her. From him, sorry. So the same thing here, but when it comes to adults, we want to be good. So, but in some cases, you can just say that either she gets sick, or because you have exalted you above God, or she gets into, because then there is no protection. God is secondary. So the protection is gone. You are now the one on top. God is gone down here. So you can get sick. You can get into accident. You can get cancer. Any kind of attack can come upon you. But so anyway, by any means, or sometimes you could go and become and just leave the house. You want to divorce. So, but we are good. We have good relationship. No problem. Oh, I will not. You just want to run away. Because I'm taking your life.
That's how it happens.
That's how it happens. So can you now understand the reason why that son is behaving like that?
Sure. This is some kind of protection, some kind of saving himself.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation
from death, from the catastrophe.
Yes, exactly.
So that is a sword that is coming right there. But that way is a good thing that happened. Okay, let's think of another scenario, that the child is a good child. And he's not violent, he's not saving himself, he's not fighting for his own self, but he's just...
Bad for him.
Yeah,
yes,
he's going to die in silence.
He's trying to be good
to be good, he's trying to be good.
To teach,
to be quiet, to be submissive.
Yes. But this is
then that's bad to her, that's killing her. She will die in silence.
Because she's not expressing herself, her emotions,
Yeah, because she's not stopping that process of taking life from her. Thank you, girls. Thank you. I think we could see another video right now. Let's have a look at another video which might be able to help us in what we are talking about. And that's why the son of the first man that we spoke will show you today. That's why the son died. But we are going to see another video. Please, let's have a look.
And now on ABC 13 exclusive, a fight between a couple leads to 2 funerals. Tonight, a mother is just arriving in Houston, rushing from Louisiana after learning that her ex-boyfriend killed their daughter and then himself. Eyewitness News reporter Maya Shea joining us live with more from that mother that you will see only on 13. Maya.
It is such a tragic story. Why would a father kill his own little girl in the house of the grandmother right behind me? That's what happened last night, and now a family is in grief. Last night, Shanique Johnson got the call no mother should ever receive, that her 4-year-old daughter, Amari Felder, was dead and her own dad killed her.
He poured the gun in my baby because she was trying to bread. He shot her.
Investigators say Terrell Felder was upset that Johnson was living in Louisiana and had a new boyfriend. So last night he killed his own daughter and then killed himself, all in the grandmother's home in the Katy area. Shaka George lives next door.
I'm shocked, like I said. We didn't hear anything until we heard the siren from the police car.
Johnson told us over the phone that Amari wanted to visit her dad and grandmother, so a few days ago, Felder picked up the little girl from Louisiana and brought her back to the Houston area.
She wanted to go. She said she wanted to be with her dad and her daddy because she was missing them, and I allowed her to go.
Johnson says Felder wanted to get back together, but she did not, and that's what caused him to kill his own child, a girl whose mother will always remember as a little princess.
She's everybody. She is very smart. My baby knows where she going, where she at. She can look at something and know exactly where she at and where she going. She tell you anything you need to know.
Such a tragic story. We should note that Terrell Felder, the father in this case, posted a video on Instagram last night before he killed his daughter and then himself, in which he said he was speaking with God. God was speaking to him, and then he allegedly, fired and caused that awful tragedy in this home. We're live in Cape, Lion Ship 13.
Okay. Let's go back to this story. So what we just had in that story is that a father, okay, so let me show you the picture of what's happening here. A father and wife, husband and wife, they had a small baby together, but the husband is having an irrational love to the wife. So this is what people like, that people will talk about that. He loves her. Oh, he loves her. He loves her so much that love was not helping her. You remember what I said? When you love somebody too much, she becomes idolized. You begin to idolize her. And when you're idolizing or worshiping somebody like that, when you love her too much, it means that is because you are seeing her as the meaning of your life. You are deriving and sapping life from her. So if a husband loves a wife like that, he is actually living on her energy. He is living on her life support, life source. So her life is only enough for her life. She is not the source of life. All of us are supposed to live off of his life. I'm supposed to live off of his life. She is supposed to live off of his life. We are not supposed to be sucking life out of each other. But that is saying, I love you so much. You are my everything. I cannot live without you. What does that mean? That means you are my energy, my source of energy. So this husband they have a baby now, but some of the reason why, some of the blessings of children is that children could help heal that. When you have a child, that could help distract your love, your attention, a little bit from each other. To now give now. Instead of taking life and love, but you are now giving life to the little baby. But in the case of this husband, even though they now have a child, but his whole life focus was still the wife. And it was still making the life the essence and the meaning of his life. And he loved the wife so much. That is irrational love. He needed her to be with him all the time. He needed her to, do what he wants. He needed to be, cannot let that baby alone, by herself. She is the meaning of his life. He cannot live without her. But what that does for the person that you are loving irrationally is that person you are loving so strongly like that is feeling that I'm not comfortable. She might not be able to express it or explain it, but she said, this love is too much. This love is too much for me. It's killing me. This love is is shocking me. So without your love, you are now shocking her. Because you have made her the source of your life. You are taking away her life by all your attention, by all your emotion, by all your... You are actually feeding off of her life. You are a vampire. You are a vampire. Vampire, you are actually sucking her blood and life out of her and living off of that. So she started feeling that you love me, but it's too much for me. And she decided to run away. So she ran away, left the child for him, and ran away. And then he began, and he, because he's used to living for her, and living, through that love for her, and irrational love, and then said, come back. I cannot live without you, come back. She said, I cannot come back. You love me too much. Your love is killing me. Then he started threatening her and saying, if you don't come back, I'm going to kill this child. I'm going to kill the child. Come back. But she cannot come back because she is feeling that, your love, I'm suffocating around you. Then he went ahead and killed the daughter and then killed himself. That's because somebody cannot get himself attached to God and make God his meaning and this essence of his life, and wanted to make man his essence of his life. And that's what happens. So irrational love leads to hatred, leads to loss, leads to tragedy, and all kind of things like this. This is what irrational love does. Thank you. Thank you. So soul ties lead to eventual hatred. Any irrational love will turn to hate. Irrational love to a husband leads to fear of losing him. Yeah. Or the opposite. He could leave eventually because that's why she left. That's exactly this point. Because that irrational life, too much for her. Because he didn't want to lose her. But that made her to leave. And they became hate and then death, you see. This is what we just saw in that video. And that's what we saw in this story too. 2 Samuel 13:15. Amnon and Tamar. Do we have do we have this? You already had it? Okay. So it is caused, this kind of tragedy is caused by the wife. Oh, sorry. When the wife loves the husband irrationally and he lives or dies, it is actually the wife that caused that death or separation or things like that. Or in this case, it is the husband. Because whatever we love irrationally, we wish to retain, you see. That's what leads to control. Whenever you love something irrationally, you wish to retain it. By all means. And, hey, Ghana, you might need to come back again. So let's say I'm the husband. I love my wife so much. That love, too much love. I love somebody irrationally. I don't want her to go. I want to retain her. I want to hold on to her by all means. And when somebody is holding on to you, even though they say they love you, what happens to you? You begin to get irritated that, let me go. I don't have life anymore. I don't have my life. That's what is happening. You are controlling the person. You are monitoring the actions of the person, what the person is doing. The person doesn't have her own life. She doesn't have a breathing space. So that's what happens when a husband or a wife loves the partner so irrationally like that. We wish to retain that person that we love, or we don't wish to lose them. There are some people, husband and wife, right? And nobody wants to lose the wife and husband, right? Nobody wants to lose the partner. But the best thing to do for you, not to lose her, is to actually give her up to God and say, God, you gave me this wife. I love her so much. I cannot live without her, and you know that. But right now, I'm giving her up to you, even though we are still living as husband and wife, but I'm giving her up to you. That's why the Bible says that he that is married should be as if he's not married. He that is having children should be as if he's not having children. give it up to God and live in your mind. It's something that has to happen, not physically. You don't have to be divorced, but it's something that has to happen in your consciousness, just like it happened with Isaac and Abraham. Abraham, once he was ready to let the son go, God said, okay, don't kill him now. Don't kill him anymore. Take him back because you have let him go in your heart. So if you really love your wife and husband, you must let them go in your heart, but it must be real because you cannot deceive God. You must really let go. And once you let go like that, then you will be able to retain them. But if your first attachment must be God, then you are blessed and covered. But when you just want to control and hold on to them and you are living off of them, you are actually destroying your relationship and you are destroying their lives. So when we love something, we wish to retain it or don't wish to lose it. So we become dependent on it. So what happens is, first of all, because of my too much love, I want to retain her. I am killing her. But on the other hand, I am dependent on her. What does that mean, dependent on her? I am depending on her for my joy. I'm depending on her for my excitement. I'm depending on her for my happiness. I'm depending on her for my essence of life, for my value of life, for my meaning of life. Which means I'm a parasite to her life. I'm supposed to depend on him as my source of life. And she's supposed to depend on him as her source of life. Because he's the only one that is made to be like that. Okay? So, we wish to retain or don't wish to lose whatever we love too much. So, we become dependent on it or controlling. That's why we become controlling until the opposite happens. So what irrational love does is that it leads you to have the opposite of what you are wishing for. You get the opposite happens. We already did this? Okay. So you begin to hate the very same person you love or the very same person who says he loves you because he failed you. So, sorry. Now that's another aspect of it. Even I that say I love her so much, because I'm depending on her, I will be reacting now at everything she does. So because I love her so much and the essence of my life, my joy comes from her. My excitement comes from her. So she must act. I always want her to act and behave in a way that I want. Because that's how I get to be happy. I always want her to behave and do what pleases me. When you love somebody irrationally, you begin to depend your joy and mood and everything begin to depend on them. So when they do something that you like, you are happy. That is making you to be even depend more on them. But when they do something that you don't like, then you are not happy. So your joy or happiness depends on them. And your lack of joy or sadness also depends on how they behave. So what that means is you begin to get irritated all the time because no human being can 100% behave the exact way you want them to behave because you are two different people. So because she cannot behave all the time the way you want her to behave, you now are getting frustrated more and more, irritated, annoyed, angry, and you are getting frustrated and your moods are changing and you are reacting according to how she behaves and what she does. So you make your own life also shaky and you are not really going to be happy because of that. Because your happiness now depends on what happened to the other person. So that is also another problem. So you now begin to hate her because she cannot please you all the time. You begin to hate her because she's doing the opposite of what you want. You begin to hate her because she's not meeting your expectation. So you begin to hate because he failed you. If you can't retain, you begin to hate. That's what happens. Let's have another look. Thank you. Let's have another look at another video, which might help us to bring this across as well. Okay, here we go. Let's have a look at this video here. Okay, maybe you don't know what is going on here. Let me explain to you what's going on here. This is a man, this is a woman, this is the wife who cut, I wish we see the car. Go back to where they things are. Yeah. Okay, that is the wife who caught the husband in their car with another woman. That's just a jealous woman, right? A jealous wife. So she was so destroyed and damaged and hurt that this is how she was. I think there is another story. The one I said we should do. Let's do it again. It's not the same. Okay, I thought it was similar. Yeah, but it's a similar thing. That's what I mean. There is another story like that. But this is what happened to women when they find their husband cheating on them. And some people kill their husbands. Some people, we have a case right now in Nigeria where a wife killed the husband. I mean, not two cases. I've had, in the last 2 months, in the last 1 month, I had 2 cases of wives killing their husbands because they cheated. Now, why? Who wants to comment? Who wants to comment on that? Why will a woman go to the extent, just remove the sound and let it play. Why will a woman go to the extent of behaving like this publicly just because the husband cheated on her? Or why will a woman find gun, and men do this too, go and find a gun and kill the wife or kill the husband? It's not just because of love. That is now an irrational love, I tell you. It is now an irrational love when, that is a wife beating the husband. That is now an irrational love when a woman gets to that extent. It's not just love anymore. It has become irrational love. Let's look at another one. I heard that in Germany today, something like that also happened. What happened in Germany? Is it the husband that killed the wife or the wife that killed the husband in Germany? You see, when people cannot control their reactions like that, it means they had idolized that man. They had worshipped that man or that woman. Let's see another example here. Make you just start it all over again. Let's just let it make bigger. And then develop.
Sarva, come here, Joe. Yes, fine. Yeah. Is this what you do to your husband?
Yeah.
How do you hit your husband? Just here. I can't breathe.
You know what is happening there, right? You know what's happening there? Irrational love always leads to, where is it? Irrational love always leads to hatred, you see. That's what we have just seen there now. Irrational love leads to hatred. So you begin to hate because it failed you, you see. If you can't retain it, him, you begin to hate him. But sometimes even that hatred is salvation. Because all those things that happen, the goal of it, or all those tragedies, is to bring people back to true love, who is God. Because when you begin to hate each other, then you are forced to come back and concede to God. When you begin to lose each other, you are forced to return back to God. When you begin to, even kill each other, you are forced to return to find the real love, with the source of life, who is God. So all these things, even irrational love, why does it always become hatred? So that you don't replace these things, this love with God. So that this one doesn't become the God in your life. So that you can still find your way back to God. So most of us actually today, we came to God and we, just because of some kind of disappointment and failure in life, and that all is now what led us to know God. So that irrational love, as bad as it is the aim and the goal of it, is to later attach you back to the real source. So that you stop making man your source and you begin to make God your source. So you begin to hate because it failed you, you cannot retain it. The more tied you are to a child or to a husband or to work or to job or to money, the more the possibility of that child hating you. That's what we saw in the beginning with that video. Or running away from you eventually. Okay, we have another video, right? Or we did it already. Okay, let's have another video here. Death is another possibility. Oh, that place of love belongs only to God. No one should replace God, you see. That's why these things happen, because that place of love belongs to God and no one should replace him. So let's have a look at another video here and see how this could also help us. So irrational love will always end up in hatred or loss or in death. Okay, here we go.
And now we turn to a story that challenges our ideas about foreign adoption, parental responsibility, and what you do if you're desperate. A Tennessee mother has returned the 7-year-old son she adopted from Russia, sending him back alone. And now outraged Russian officials want to halt adoptions to U.S. families, period. Juju Chang on this wrenching dilemma.
He arrived in Moscow Thursday, alone and exhausted after flying halfway around the world. Bewildered 7-year-old Artem Savelyev swarmed by cameras, sparking international outrage. He carried this note from his adopted mother back in Tennessee. "I adopted this child," wrote 32-year-old single mother Tori Hansen. "He is violent and has severe psychopathic issues. I was lied to and misled by the Russian orphanage. And after giving my best to this child, I'm sorry to say that for the safety of my family and myself, I no longer wish to parent this child." Hansen adopted Artem 6 months ago, but her family says the boy's hitting, kicking, spitting began to escalate. He drew pictures of the family's house on fire. So this week, the boy's adoptive grandmother flew him from his home in Shelbyville, Tennessee, to Washington, checked him in as an unaccompanied minor, and sent him off alone on the 10-hour flight to Moscow. Today, Russian President Dmitry Medvedev told ABC's George Stephanopoulos the incident is both illegal and immoral.
It's monstrous on the part of his adoptive parents to take the kid and virtually throw him out over the plane.
And Medvedev noted that more than 15 Russian children have been killed in recent years by their adoptive American parents. Parents like Peggy Sue Hilt, who's serving 17 years in prison for beating to death her 2-year-old daughter Nina from Siberia.
I didn't mean to hurt her.
Adoption lawyers say young Artyom's story is a truly unusual case of child abandonment. Americans adopt 1,600 Russian children every year.
Adoption is not child rental. This woman was responsible for the kid for the rest of his life.
Joyce Sturkle has worked for 15 years with Russian-born children whose adoptions are deeply troubled.
There's a certain percentage of these children who are adopted that are severely impaired. If they were adults, we would call them sociopaths.
Now this boy has told Russian officials that his adopted mother was abusive and pulled his hair, and the U.S. State Department has asked a Tennessee sheriff to investigate. But so far, Diane, the mother has not been questioned. There have been no charges.
I know you're going to explore these issues further tonight.
Stop. Now, adoption, these are two cases here. One mother returned the son that she had adopted, and one other mother killed the son that they had adopted. You know why? It's not, in this case, it's not because the children were idolized, but it is the desire and the pleasure that is, it is idolization of pleasure and desires. So those women, that woman, let's say you are the one adopting the child, you had a desire in your mind, and your desire is that that child that you are adopting will give you pleasure. So you are actually worshiping pleasure in this case. You are worshiping your desire. You are worshiping the desire for pleasure. Because you took that child to fulfill and meet your need for pleasure.
Okay, so
and since that child was not bringing pleasure,
now he's fault.
Yeah, now he's guilty. You have to kill it or return it.
So it's not about having child. It's about having pleasure.
I love myself. I get the child to pleasure me. That's why some people marry. I get a wife to pleasure me. If she cannot pleasure me, now problem starts. She has to listen to me. She has to do what I wish for her to do. So that is another kind of worship another kind of irrational love or idealization of things. When I get a human being to do what I want to be, to fulfill my own pleasure, I'm an idol worshiper. I am worshiping not you. You are not important. You are just to pleasure me. I am the God of my life. My desires for pleasure for myself is the God here. So if you cannot cope, if you cannot do what I got you for, then problem starts. So that's what happened with that child too.
And the children and the husband and wives can be only instruments in this case.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who it will be.
Yeah.
Or adopt a child, or your own child, or your wife, or your husband.
Yeah.
If it's everything about
you. If you are worshiping pleasure, if you are worshiping your desire, then you just want to use all other people to fulfill that desire. That desire becomes your God. And because that child couldn't fulfill the desire, the woman killed the child. And in this case, the woman returned the child back. Because the desire that she wanted to be fulfilled is not being met.
It's about expectations.
Yeah, it's about worshiping of your desire. It's about making your desire your God. It's about loving yourself. And that's why Jesus said that if you don't deny yourself, you cannot follow God. You cannot become Jesus' disciple. You don't live for yourself. You're supposed to take a child because you want to give more to the child. You want to give love to the child. That's why you adopt a child, not because you want to derive pleasure. But many people in Africa today, they want to derive pleasure from having children. That's why they have children. They want to be pregnant because they are worshiping their desires. They are idol worshippers. So those children become troublesome, or they die, or they become sick, or because they took them as instruments as to fulfill their own desires, or they die.
It's like these children, they are not human beings.
Yeah,
it's not about them at all.
They're like objects. We have another video. Let's have a look at another video. Thank you. Let's have a look at another video. Here we go. That will also help us to get the topic on.
Jack Gleason is the actor who plays King Joffrey on Game of Thrones, and in November of 2013 he talked about how
I saved the city. I won the war.
I hate him and love him at the same time because he's such a good actor, but his character is so despicable.
Loathsome guy.
He's like the worst, yeah. Well, he says that he is kind of tired of being a celebrity, so after Game of Thrones is over, he plans on retiring. Well, at first I didn't really believe that he was going to end up retiring, but you know what?
First of all, he's what is he, 13?
I don't know how old he is.
You can't retire, okay?
He might.
You can stop acting, but you can't retire. Like if you say I'm retiring and you're him, you're kind of a puss. Then just do it, but don't give me. Nobody 21 retires from anything.
Yeah.
You just do something else, which he's free to do.
Right. I'm sure he will do something else as well, or else you Right. I know, but that's usually what athletes and actors say. He's not the only one. This isn't an isolated
No athlete retires at 21.
Right.
They get cut.
They do get cut. All right. Well, he was at Oxford Union. He was giving a speech, and he was talking about how he hates the obsession with celebrities. Take a look.
People suddenly wanted to take pictures of me on the streets, and journalists were interested in what kind of socks I preferred, and among certain groups of my peers, my jokes seemed to become a lot funnier, which perhaps was all the comedy books I was reading at the time, or perhaps it was sycophancy, I don't know. America's capitalism bore out a commodity-based society in which the actions of the individual could be equated with acts of consumption. Tabloids, talk shows, and subsequently reality television all became obsessed with the commodification of the celebrity image, making it consumable and then ultimately disposable. What's ironic is that you see celebrities endorsing things like musical tampons and appearing in advertisements for lavender-scented teeth whitener or something, wielding goods whose sell-by dates are, ironically probably outlast theirs.
Has he ever shaved?
I don't know.
And why is he reading?
Yeah, he seemed surprised at what he was saying in some words, right? Like the whole musical tampon thing. He was like, musical tamp.
No, but he's reading it like an actor, like he's reading it like he did a nice job of making it seem like he just thought of musical tampons.
Yeah,
But it's written down right there. You're reading it. He didn't just think of it.
So what do you think about what he had to say? Like this obsession that we have with celebrities and everything they do and how they get used.
That's it. Maybe you people don't understand what's going on here. What's going on here is that a celebrity, a star, is a big star in America. What's the name of the Game of Thrones? There is something they call Game of Thrones in America, a film, I guess. And this was the star of that Game of Thrones. And he just woke up one day after becoming so famous, and it was at the peak of his fame. He just came up one day and turned his back and said, I'm leaving Hollywood. I'm living the celebrity lifestyle. I'm living the industry. I'm living, movie. I'm living acting. They said, what happened? He said, because I've always wanted this all my life. I was obsessed by the desire to be famous, to be popular, to have success. But now that I have the success and I have the fame, it's shocking me. You see, that is when somebody is idolized the desire. Not a woman now, not a husband, not a child, but the desire. Sometimes we idolize our desires, our pleasure, the desire for pleasure. That's why people in Hollywood kill, drink, become drug addicts, alcoholic addicts. That's why divorces, all kind of catastrophe is happening there. Why? Because those are people who mostly idolize their pleasure or their desires, and they get the opposite. And I think you understand the reason why. So, because irrational love to a husband leads to fear of losing him. He could live or hate or die. It is caused by the wife or the husband, because whatever we love irrationally, we wish to retain or don't wish to lose. So we become dependent on it or controlling until the opposite happens. So you begin to hate because it failed you. If you can't retain it, you begin to hate it. The more tied you are to a child, the more the possibility of that child hating you, or that profession, or that job, or that desire, or that pleasure, or running away from you eventually. Death is another possibility, and we saw that in the beginning today. That place of love belongs only to God. No one should replace God. No one should replace God. That's why love turns to hate. Irrational love turns to hate. The first and second commandment is all about this. It is for our own protection. So when God tells us to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, it is for our protection. And then love people, it is also our protection. But not self. If you just love yourself, you will kill yourself. If you love somebody else other than loving God first, you kill that person and you kill yourself too. If you love something else rather than God, that desire will kill you. You destroy yourself. I think I will just open the ground now. I think I will just open the line for a call. What is the latest book that we have? Kingdom of Love? Okay. Yeah, I could have other places, but I think we should just let the calls come in now. So if you want to call, the way to call is go to Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger, Move Agents. Matic, Move Agents. Facebook Messenger, Move Agents. Matic. Facebook Messenger, Move Agents. Facebook Messenger, Move Agents. Oh, by the way, you know, we are starting another class for our mentorship class. Another mentorship class we are starting today. I mean, we started already. We started the first mentorship class, and we got the first group is already, the first class is already full, and we are starting the second class for our mentorship class. So if you are not accepted, or you didn't make it to be in the first group, please, you can go ahead right now and go to sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship. sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship. You can, before the end of February, you can actually join the mentorship class right now. You know, it's an amazing mentorship that is going on there, because it is something that will help you to really put your life in order. And that is, a lot of people want me to be their mentor. Well, this is your chance. Go to sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship and join into the group. Or if you have any question or any problem, just write to my office, mentorship@God Embassy, 2 words, God Embassy, 1 word together, God and Embassy, 1 word, .org. So mentorship@godembassy.org, mentorship@godembassy.org. So you can write just to get all your information, but you can actually go without even writing to the blog, sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship, and just go ahead and join. You know, that's an opportunity for you to put your life in order and to actually make your life systemic and make it, you know, predictable. So let's see if we have anybody who wants to call. If you want to call, go to Facebook Messenger, Move Agents. Okay. Let's see. Did you show the love book? Okay. Let's make it bigger. Let's see if there is the love book, and you can get it on Amazon, or you can write to my office. To get any of these books, you just write to my office, dssbooks@gmail.com. dssbooks@gmail.com. Well, nobody is calling today. Okay, if nobody is calling today, that's good. Then we just have to go and take some rest. And tomorrow is what they call it, holiday, or what they call it, Valentine's Day. So I think people are getting ready for Valentine's Day. So no calls coming in today. All right, then we'll wait for your calls tomorrow. So I hope you got the message anyway. I really hope you got the message. And so if no one is calling, then we are going to receive you tomorrow. So have a wonderful evening. God bless.